What's going on, Sea Bears? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another installment of Geared Up, where we review My Engineer, the series, in depth. Today, or this week rather, I have storyline and tropes. So if you are interested in learning my view on the storyline and some of the little tropes that are here and there in My Engineer, the series, please stay tuned. Alright guys, so before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of this video, what's going on, Sea Bears? How you doing? How's your day? If you are new, hello. If you are returning, hello again. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification so you know whenever I upload, as well as leave a like and comment down below. We're gonna have a big discussion today, so we'll have a lot to talk about. And don't forget to follow me on social media at JordyC on Instagram and Twitter. And let's get into this review. Alright guys, so this is how this review is gonna go. I'm gonna split it up by episodes because I'm gonna cover episode 8 through 10 and just talk about, like, you know, how the story went, some of the things I liked, some of the things I didn't like, you know, point out some tropes that I found on the way. Also, this is an open discussion, so if you notice something in the series that maybe I didn't go over, or you have like a different opinion, as long as we are respectful in the comments, we can definitely have a conversation and just go back and forth, and maybe we can learn something from each other. So episode 8 starts off with King's sister leaving with Ram. I don't remember her name, but if I do find it, I'll put it here. I even looked in the cast list on my drama list, but I didn't see her. I might have to look back in the episode and see if I can find her name, but if not, I'll put it somewhere on the screen. But basically they run into Bond's friend, which is T. Here's what I think about T. I think T is more of just the gossip aspect of the whole story. If you notice, every time we see him have any type of lines whatsoever, he always gossiping about some shit. But he doesn't just gossip, he kind of like makes up stories in his head, just like his sister with Ram and King and how they interacted when she first met them, or when she first met Ram. So it's funny because I look at King's sister and T as kind of I look at them both as the BL community in a series. We see this a lot, like in BL community, where we see them specifically place characters to represent us, and sometimes represent the bad part of us, sometimes represent the good part of us, but it's just really funny seeing them place that in there, because I think when developing a couple, it definitely kind of puts us in the mix, if that makes any sense. Ooh, bars, did y'all hear that? I mean, those words don't rhyme. What am I talking about? What I mean is sometimes they give the characters a certain demeanor or a certain personality that we can relate to. So some people like to definitely ship the couples, which King's sister is a big shipper of Ram and King right now. So you can kind of relate to her as far as that. And then T is there, where he's more of the bad part of the gossip, really. I mean, King's sister also putting these things in people's head is very bad, but hers is a little less harmless than T's. T tends to specifically put these kind of images, and especially in Bond's head, about doing like cheating and stuff like that, to the point where he basically thinks he's reading lips, but he's not, when there's that interaction between Dune and Tara, his cousin. So which sends Bond into a jealous rage, which we'll get into in a later part of this video. But yeah, they kind of represent the BL community for me in this series. So after this, they cut to Bond and Dune's first phone call as officially boyfriends. It's funny because they don't take away from their dynamic they had beforehand. They add a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of sugar in there, but Dune is still very, very harsh towards Bond. Not harsh in the bad sense, but more like, you know, just kind of not letting him get away with anything, not letting him, you know, gain an inch, basically. And Bond is still very, very gullible to these things that Dune does. One, I made the mistake of thinking Dune was innocent, and he's not. He definitely is not that. They basically set up a little date for the next day, and we actually get a glimpse of how their relationship is gonna go for like the next, I guess, couple of episodes, where Dune wakes up late, and definitely we already know that Bon is jealous, but now we're gonna add the pettiness into it. Well, he kind of was petty before. But let's take this jealousy and this pettiness and multiply it times 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So because Dune is late, Bon is already actually in a really bad mood about it. So he comes up with this little plan to just sulk all day basically. When in actuality he's not really that mad. I mean, yeah, he had to wait like what, an hour, but I mean. So once they get to the mall, Bon goes and grabs Dune and him something to drink. And of course, whenever a couple splits up, there's always something that happens. So of course, I think it was like a first year, maybe first year, I guess, comes up and, you know, teaches Dune how to use the little movie app or whatever, and starts to flirt. Of course, Bon shows up. And here's where the jealousy ensues and the rage. Bon decided to make a stupid decision and say that Dune isn't his boyfriend. Bon makes the mistake of thinking that Dune was just gonna take it, and Dune retaliates by saying yes, he is very, very single. Bon gets mad, Bon storms out, and Dune follows, clearing up with the first year that he is in fact his boyfriend. And then they make up, but the thing is, it's funny because Bon has this image in his head that Dune is just very sweet and innocent, kind of like we all did. I feel like we all had that image of Dune in our head when the series first started, and we couldn't quite get that out of our head until like a couple of episodes later, and we were like, wait, he is very, very petty himself, which I think is why him and Bon actually work very well. Of course they go out, they make up and everything, and they clear everything up. Then we cut to Mecha and Boss. The most frustrating part for me of My Engineer the series. Basically in episode 8, Mech was helping Boss with getting his girlfriend to a certain position in like the little competition that she's participating in. And here comes one of the tropes that happens in BL a lot, which is guy loves other guy, and that guy doesn't know how to confess his feelings to him. Other guy gets a girlfriend or another person, and instead of telling them how they really feel, they were too late, and therefore now the other person enlists their help to court said significant other. It hurts my heart because it's like you were too late in expressing your feelings, and now you have to help the one that you love get someone else or keep someone else. This is why their relationship kind of confuses me, because it's like they play the husband and wife thing, but one is very oblivious to how the other feels, and the other doesn't really want to express it. He wants to keep it hidden, so we go in this constant circle. In my opinion, and this is just kind of foreshadowing a little bit, I feel like we may get feelings confessed, but I feel like they're not going to be received well, or they're not going to be received at all. So hopefully I'm wrong, but that's what it's looking like right now. Next, we're going to talk about Dune's friend's involvement in his relationship with Bon. Now, in my opinion, I feel like your friend should get involved, because this is someone who is coming in to your space, and we all know when your friends get cuffed up, it definitely affects the whole situation. So I understand their involvement. What I don't understand is the kind of hypocrisy of how they told him to follow his heart with Bon, but then like they don't trust Bon, which I think in a way is kind of valid because of some of the things that Bon has done to Dune, as far as teasing him and stuff like that. But it's never been something extremely off the wall. Yes, he blackmailed him into getting roses for him every single day for a month. Okay, but that's not the worst thing. Like, he didn't, you know, do anything, you know, extremely bad to him. So, like, just the hypocrisy of them telling him to follow their heart, his heart with Bon, and then turning around and being like, no, we need to test this guy, we don't trust him, stuff like that. The only one who's been consistent in his feelings is Ram, which I respect. He didn't like Bon in the first place, he still doesn't like Bon, but now he's like, I respect my friend's decision, so I'm gonna test you. But I feel like the fight thing is a little bit much. It's a lot, like, and you're a professional boxer, sir, like, what the fuck? Obviously he's gonna lose. And then lastly in this episode, we're gonna talk about the symbolism of King getting Ram a Venus flytrap, which I think is so amazing. I always end up liking the side couples a lot more than the main couple. I like Bon and Dune, but King Ram is just, there's a lot of symbolism around their characters, and that's one of the things that I love the most. King getting that Venus flytrap definitely signifies the harshness and kind of the rough edges that Ram has. The Venus flytrap, of course, they talked about how when King went into the store to actually purchase seeds for one, or purchase a baby one or a small one or whatever, he was told that they're very hard to take care of, they're very hard to blossom, which definitely, again, is an ode to Ram. Ram is very secluded, very closed off. He's quiet. He only opens up to certain people about his situations, and he's just very, very, very hard to nurture. Venus flytrap. It also shows that King was paying attention to him, which I think is the biggest thing for Ram. Yes, he's silent and he doesn't really put himself out there, but King is one of the people that is taking time to actually know him, and I think that's one of the reasons why Ram is so silent. He wants people to know him. What you have is, you know, what you get is what you see. Instead of using words to convey his emotions, he's more about action, which I respect. Okay, so moving on to episode 9 now. The biggest question I have about the beginning of episode 9 is, how did Bon and Ram tie when Ram is supposed to be a professional boxer? I just want to know, like, is Bon, like, I mean, maybe street smart, like, maybe he just has a natural knack for fighting. I don't understand, like, they set Ram up as this great boxer and then they tied. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of disappointing for me, but I mean, I understand if they didn't tie, then technically Bon had to leave Dune alone. So I understand why they kind of ended it that way. And then it ended with actually saying, if you hurt him, I'm going to kill you, in a very straightforward way. He kind of said it like, in a way like, you're like, oh, that sucks, but also, I would kill me too. And you agree with him. Also, I don't know why Dune got mad at Bon at first, because it was your friends who started the whole test thing, going through a series of tests to test, you know, your loyalty to Dune. Also, side note, it's funny how they made the tests to be things that Bon did to Dune and like previously, minus the fighting thing. Well, no, Dune punched Bon in the face, so I guess that doesn't really count. Minus the fighting thing. So it was kind of like a get a taste of your own medicine type of thing with the whole rose thing. But after the whole fight situation, this isn't really a trope, or is it? It may be. So And it wouldn't be a proper BL if one of the main protagonists didn't get hurt and then the other take care of them. You know, with the whole med kit scene, sitting on the couch, taking care of them. One presses too hard, the other one says, "Oh," and you know, you get what I'm saying? Like, that whole scene is a staple in BL. You will probably find it somewhere between two characters in almost every single BL. It's just something that happens. But I actually think it's a good tactic to bond characters, and it shows that, you know, even though you go through bad times and you may be hurt by a situation, that person is there to take care of you at the end of the day. So I don't really mind this trope. I actually like it. So yeah. Now, this here is a very, very, it's one of the issues that has been passed around in the BL community forever, which are labels. Now, this episode introduces us to the problem that, you know, Bon and Dune are going to have with said labels. Now, this is my personal opinion about labels. You can like it, you can not like it. Like I said, we can have a conversation in the comment section below, but we will be respectful, or the comment will be deleted, or I will tell you about yourself. It just depends on how I'm feeling, because we're hopefully all adults here. Well, some of us are adults, some of us are, like, you know, teenagers, but we can have a very respectful conversation, and we can have different opinions, but talk to each other respectfully. So with that disclaimer, my thoughts on labels. I personally do not really care for labels. Now, labels are a societal construct, of course. You know, things are labeled all the time. I think that a lot of us get caught up in thinking that labels are always a bad thing. Now, in Thai culture, they are used to having something called a husband and a wife, no matter if it's a heterosexual relationship or a homosexual relationship. And usually, when they say the husband, they refer to the breadwinner of the couple, someone who's very strong, someone who is very assertive. And then when they say the wife, they, you know, think of someone delicate, submissive, shy, things like all the things that, you know, society would normally think a female would be, which a lot of times is definitely wrong. In my opinion, I think that whether or not labels are attached to a couple should be up to the couple. If someone wants to be labeled as a wife, then hey, let them be labeled as a wife. That is their choice. It is not our place to put on or take away a label from a person. It is ultimately up to that person to decide whether or not they want to be labeled as something or not. So when we have conversations like on Twitter or in the YouTube comments and say, well, you shouldn't label this as something, you shouldn't label this as something, I think we also need to take into account what the author wanted for the series. If they wanted it to be husband and wife, yes, that is a big trope in Thai Y series, where there's always a husband and wife type of situation. That's just their culture, and we have to respect it, and we have to respect that maybe in due time they may start to shy away from the labels altogether. I mean, look at King Ram King. Like, we don't even know, because guess what? Perth already shut that down and said, hey, we are not sticking with labels. And speaking of not sticking with labels, Bon and Dune have basically said that, hey, we are not going to stick with labels, really. I mean, there's no mention of really husband and wife until like their friends get involved, and then also with Mecha Boss. But again, reiterating, we should not, us as individuals should not take away nor put labels on people ourselves. We should let them decide what they want to have. That's the whole thing about being who you want to be and being in whatever, you know, category you want to be in. There's so many that, you know, you can choose from whatever you want, or you can choose not to be in any of them. That's your choice and your choice alone. So moving on to Mech and Boss and how I am having a very, very hard time conceptualizing their relationship. One, because they definitely play like they are a couple. Of course, we all know that Mech actually likes Boss. We don't know what Boss's feelings towards Mech are, but right now it's being played as, you know, he doesn't really have any feelings, or he hasn't thought about that Mech in that type of way. Especially because, I mean, he has a full-on like girlfriend right now, so, and he's enlisting Mech's help to please her and, you know, satisfy whatever, you know, dates or anything or activities she wants to go on. But the thing that kind of just again confuses me is the fact that Mech is definitely jealous of her, which puts him in kind of like a position where he gets so frustrated with Boss because Boss always enlists his help for, you know, practicing for these activities and these dates that he's possibly going to go on with his girlfriend in the future, to the point where Mech actually, you know, voices his frustration and basically kicks Boss out of his apartment and just leaves him there. But then he goes back and forgives him like immediately, like the next day, and helps him with whatever he needs. So it confuses me and it bothers me because it's like, I feel like if you did not voice your feelings for this person, while yes, you may have been scared that you might lose this friendship, that is totally understandable because I've been in that situation. But you can't really, really have no place to voice your anger and your frustration on someone when they don't know where this anger and frustration is coming from, you know? I think that part of it should be internalized unless you are ready to confess and, you know, say, hey, this is why I've been feeling this way. You know what I'm saying? Let me know how you feel about Mech and Boss's relationship in the comments below. I really want to know everybody's opinion because I feel like I'm not the only one that feels this way. But just let me know in the comments below. Next, we have a really cute moment between Ram and, I keep saying Ram, but I want to say Ram, but it's kind of like I'm so used to saying like a hard R that I forget. But anyway, that's beside the point. But Ram and King have a really cute moment because Ram loses his lucky pencil and King ends up making a new one for him. But this situation definitely shows that Ram definitely has some type of feeling toward King, because he finds his lucky pencil but he chooses to use the one that King made for him instead. So I thought that was a really, really cute little moment that they had between their characters. And then to wrap up this episode, episode 9 specifically, not this video, but episode 9, we see that Bone gets drunk, and partially because of his frustration with the whole, you know, back and forth we're doing over labels and, you know, having who's the alpha and stuff like that, when there can definitely be two alphas. And over the whole, you know, I'm the top or you're the bottom or things like that. So he gets drunk. Friends end up calling Doon to take him home, and then we are left to think that Doon did something bad to Bong, which leads us into episode number 10. So we end up finding out that all that Doon did is wax his man's legs, and the reason that Bond is feeling pain is because he actually fell off the bed, which I had a hard time like getting this through my head while watching the episode, like how you fall, and if you fall you feel like pain like in your butt cheeks, but like if something like that happened, it's more of an internal pain, you know, like there's a difference. But I feel like I guess I can get why someone who has never done that may mistake that pain for something else. But like even then, if you think about it, it's like more internal, because I'll let you have that imagination. I am not gonna go any further into that portion of it, but I feel like there's, you know, he could have separated those two and kind of ruled out that Doon did anything bad to him. The thing that got me, because it was going good and I was like, okay, good, he didn't do anything bad. The thing that got me and threw me off, and let me preface with this, to each his own. People handle situations differently. People think of certain things differently. Now, does it mean that that thing is wrong? Maybe, maybe not. People perceive things differently. But the thing that got me was when Doon asked Bon if he actually did something to him, how he would have reacted. And Bon proceeds to say that he would have dealt with it because he likes him. Now, that's Bon's choice. I know that there is a lot of controversy around what is, you know, morally right and morally wrong when it comes to those situations in the BL community, and a lot of people are kind of misguided on what is, you know, consent and what is not. So if Bon is fine with it and he voices in the series that he's fine with it, then there's nothing more that we can really say about it. I mean, technically, if Doon did do something to Bon without his consent, lawfully that's wrong. Like, that's wrong. Whether or not they are okay with it within their relationship is something totally different. So that's just the thing that kind of threw me off a little bit, is that he has accepted it, because if it were me, I wouldn't have been as accepting of that if you didn't ask me first. But that's just me. Like I said, people perceive things differently, and people have different levels of what's moral and immoral, and sometimes we just have to respect that. Episode 10 definitely had just had a lot of bad going on in it. Moving on to Ram's dad, who, from the outside looking in, of course we've only seen it from Ram's perspective so far, but apparently his dad is cheating. Took a whole woman to a hotel, 24-hour hotel. So I mean, the only time people do that, it really is to do something they're not supposed to do. Especially at the time of night it was. So, but this is kind of foreshadowing, because I feel like something bad is gonna, of course, happen in Lam's family, and I'm glad that Lam has made that connection with King, so that when, I don't want to say when, I want to be, you know, I want to look at the silver lining, but when something happens in Lam's family, King is going to be there to pick him up, because I mean, yes, he has his brother, but we have yet to see that his brother really is there as a support system for him. But King has just really been stepping up as far as someone who understands. He even said it himself. Said, hey, you are the person that understands me. After he put like the little flower in his head, and then like freaking big doll eye pervs just looking at him with just so much admiration and love, and just, there was a lot going on in that scene, and I didn't know how to handle it. Just a lot. But he said it himself, you are the person that understands me the most. So that was getting ahead of myself just a little bit with the Ram and King thing, but we're gonna backtrack a little bit and talk about Bon's jealousy and rage rising up again when Doon meets Tara, his cousin, in the mall. And again, the biggest reason why he went off on a little rage was because of T. T added fuel to the fire. I feel like Bone still would have been jealous, but it wouldn't have been as bad as like pulling him away. And you know, I feel like Bone would have just stayed there and then talked to Dune about it later on. But T being there, pretending that he knew how to read lips, just added fuel to the fire and all that other stuff. And one, it just threw me off, because why would you talk about this stuff like in front of other, like your friends like that, like injections and stuff like that. But part of that could have been Bond like actually conceptualizing something in his mind of what T was saying meant. It could have been a whole slew of things, but we see Bond's jealousy arise again and manifest itself in him pulling them away. And of course they go away, they talk about it a little bit, and then they make up. I honestly just hope this is not going to be a trend for the next, 4 episodes, I think? 14 episodes? Yeah, I just hope it's not going to be a trend for the next 4 episodes in the series. I hope that, you know, they kind of squash this whole thing with the jealousy thing, especially in episode 11. Like, just squash it. We saw when they had dinner together that they resolved the whole label thing, and they're just choosing to, you know, when that time comes to decide what each person is gonna do, then they will cross that when they cross it. Right now, they're just going to revel in their love and their care for each other and just be there for each other. Lastly, before I end this episode of Geared Up, I want to briefly touch on Frong and Tada's relationship. Right now, it seems very brotherly to me. Yes, there is, you know, patting of the head and stuff like that, and kind of the longing looks, which suggests that it could move on to something else. But right now, it just seems very brotherly to me. Also, I think that Frong has the same situation as where he just wants to find someone that understands him, that he can care for, minus the selective mute part. But I feel like he kind of has that same situation with Tada that technically had now with King. I don't think we're gonna get a lot of progression with this couple, just because it's more of, you know, kind of just a support couple. And King and Ram is more of a, even though it says they're support, I feel like they get just as much screen time as Bon and Dune. So therefore they honestly could be classified as a main couple if we just really sit down and just compare. But I just feel like we're not gonna get a lot of insight into Tada and Frong. We're probably going to get where, you know, like stages of the relationship, but not really the backstory of the relationship. What happens when they're not on the screen. Okay guys, so my overall thoughts about how the storyline is going. I think that it is moving at a pretty good pace for a series that is 14 episodes. I think that with the pace that it's going, they are definitely leaving room for there to possibly maybe be a season 2. Hopefully, maybe. But yeah, so far I do like the pacing. I like the pacing. I also like the dynamics between Bondun and King Ram. More so King Ram, because there is a lot of substance and symbolism behind their couple. Like I said, this is just me, this is my opinion. I tend to like the side couple a lot more. Even though I think that KR is definitely a more main couple type of situation. I respect how they place them, and I'm glad that they get just as much screen time as Bon and Dune. But overall, like I said, I actually like the series. I think it's sweet. Of course, if you are a Seay bear and you have been watching my videos, you know that I love Sodus S, and Our Sky with Artit and Kong Pop. So just the fact that it just gives me so much, you know, nostalgia with Sodus and just the filming quality and how things are filmed, and the music and the dynamics between the characters just remind me a lot of Sodas. And of course, engineering. That's another trope that's just, honestly, that trope's played out. No, we need something that's not engineering. Like, you know, grown-ass men. That would be nice. But guys, if you enjoyed my thoughts on episodes 8 through 10 of My Engineer on this installment of Geared Up, please leave a like and leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts were. Let me know what you agreed on and what you disagreed on. Let's have a whole conversation down in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to check out my other friends. Of course, like I said, Geared Up is a collaborative project, so each of us covers a different topic every single week. This week I covered the storylines and the tropes. Jen covered behind the scenes and just some of the stuff that's, you know, been circulating as far as the cast, crew, the episodes, the series as a whole, some of the behind the scenes stuff, so like fan meets and stuff like that. And then Lele and Jess are covering the couples and the characters, as well as the actors attached on their channel. So if you would like to check them out and you would like to have a different perspective on some other parts of this series, head over to Jen's blog. I'm gonna leave all the links down below. She's very thorough. She's very meticulous about what she puts in her blog, which is awesome because she's very detailed as well. Just head over to Jen's BL Views and Reviews, her blog. You can catch her on Twitter as well. Also, Lele and Jess's podcast Thoughts on Why. They cover more of the characters and the actors this week. So if you would like to learn a little bit more about the people behind the characters, head over to their YouTube channel /podcast. You can also listen on some other platforms, which I will link down in the description box below. And if you are interested in any more of my videos, you can always click that subscribe button as well as that bell notification so you know whenever I upload, and you can see more videos. I also do reactions to K-pop and mostly BL, and I do have some original content. Do be on the lookout for BL Deep Dive. It is coming soon. I know I've been saying this for a while, but it's just because I want to make this the best that it possibly can be. BL Deep Dive is a segment that I am adding permanently to my channel where I completely review a series all the way through. We're going to talk about the tropes, the characters, similar to what we're doing here with Geared Up, but it's going to be a lot more detailed and a lot more extensive, and it's going to be my thoughts and my thoughts alone. So if you are interested in that, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, just keep a lookout for it. But don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JordyC if you would like to chat with me, or if you would like to see some of my crazy antics on other social media and not behind a camera. Yeah, follow me there. And that is going to be it for today, Seayers. I really appreciate you guys watching, and if you've made it this far, then thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. Please keep out the lookout for the next episode of Geared Up. I think we missed last Monday because of some personal things, but we are back on track and they come out every single Monday, so keep a lookout for those. And yeah, that's going to be it for today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.